Hello, I am Ray Simonetti, and this is my leadership interview. So the reason I selected the individual was my former boss, Joe Capone at Cleveland Cement Contractors, and he was probably my favorite former boss, just because he's a great guy, a good leader, and just one of those guys that I was able to hit up out of the blue and just ask him for a casual conversation and a little interview of what it's like to be a leader. So the perceptions of Joe before the interview was more of a hard-nosed guy, but real caring and just wants the best for you, but he also expects the best out of you. So as long as you come into work, ready to work, great work ethic and stuff, he'll be straight up with you, and that's really all you can ask for. And a great leader to me is just a guy that's real transparent and upfront with you, and he expects the same back. So not much complaints there on a whole relationship part of it, just because he was willing to take time out of his day and do this interview for me. So talking with Joe about certain leadership characteristics and skills or behaviors of being a leader, he started out by talking about setting an example, and he kind of learned about this through the company because he started out on the ground floor and he worked his way up throughout his entire life, and now he's the general field supervisor, so he's got a lot of people looking at him and looking for guidance through him. So he kind of just starts out by saying setting an example and just having people follow in his path and trying to stay as level-headed as possible, because you got tons of different problems being presented towards you on an everyday basis. So you can't let one problem throw you off. You always have to have like a steady Eddie mentality when it comes to all the different solutions and situations that are presented in front of you. And that was his main thing when he was talking to me about being a leader, is just you have so many different outcomes that can be presented, and you got to critically think about each possible outcome and the results that come with each possible outcome. And another thing that he was talking about was the motivation he brings, because you can't just be coming in as a boss and just being sloppy and unorganized and just not willing to put in any effort, because that's just going to set an example throughout the whole entire company. So that's just back to setting an example and leading by example, while also bringing in good motivation and work ethic to the job. Another good leadership characteristic he talked about was having a good social perception of like who you're having a conversation with, because you definitely want to treat different situations differently, but you still want to be our authentic self, and that's what Joe always did so well. He'll be in the back just talking, having a casual conversation with us, being classic Joe, cracking jokes and all that. But then you got to flip that switch right when he's in a business meeting. He's got to, I don't want to say come back down to earth, but he's got to just come back to reality a little bit, and just know what situation he's in and know how to handle that certain situation. So from the class notes, there's talk about social judgment skills, and that's like social perceptiveness, behavioral flexibility. That all follows right in this category about him just knowing when he can be more relaxed and when other times he needs to be more uptight, and then when to handle a certain situation that is presented in front of him. One of the key statements that Joe left me with was just to not take yourself too seriously, because odds are you're going to get hit with some adversity in the workplace. So it's just all about how you handle that adversity. You're going to let the pressure consume you, or you're going to be graceful under pressure, because that's what being a great leader is all about, is being able to handle adversity. Because you're going to get hit with adversity every single day, no matter what you're doing. So sometimes you just need to sit back and relax, or just laugh it off or something. And it's one of the things that Joe just left me with, because he's very wise, even though he tries to act like a goofball sometimes. But he leaves you with those little tidbits and key statements that really have a way deeper meaning than what it sounds, and he breaks it down for you. And that was one of them that just really stuck with me. So my perception after the interview with Joe is just going to be the same. It's how it's always been. Joe's a great boss, great person, great leader, just the guy you want in your corner. He's always going to be straight up with you as long as you're straight up with him, and that's really all you can ask for. If you're a respectable follower, He'll be a respectable leader, and he's got, after looking through all the class lecture notes after the interview, he's got all the skills that it takes, all the strengths that it takes whenever we talk in lecture about what a great leader has or what kind of mental makeup they need. Joe checks all the boxes off the list, and he's just one of those guys that I'm blessed to have met, blessed to have worked for. He's always going to be a reference for me, and just glad I met him.